We're winding our way through the ridiculously awful Trimet board meeting. But before we go into that, let's take a look at something that's happened today that was fascinating. Let's see. Oh, where was it? Here you go. So the Southwest Corridor fails, and they immediately get on the CRC. So there you go. So all the technocrats that would have lost jobs because that failed, they're all going to now go over here. So there will not be any layoffs at Trimet over that loss. And there's such a bunch of grifters. It's the government is just owned by grifters. I mean, the presidential election looks like it's going to be grifter Biden over grifter Trump. And I guess the only good thing about that is that at least I know Biden doesn't pander to like the Proud Boys. But I mean, they're the same in terms of their grifters. And Biden is establishment Democrat from way back. He's not good. He's bad. I mean, as usual, the oligarchs give us nothing again, which is what they like to do. Here, take this bad one or that bad one. And we don't, maybe he can still get it. So, if Trump goes to his Supreme Court, maybe they'll give it to him. Who knows? Who cares? None of this is gonna change our lives. I mean, the majority of us are white, middle-class type people living in a house like me. It's not going to change anything who takes that office. Okay, a lot of people still support Trump. Well, they wanted him. I was okay if that's who they want. Well, okay with me. I was just going to turn the whole thing off for the next 4 years. What do you want me to do about it? I just want to look at Trimet anyway.
All that provide the blueprint, but at the same time provide a floor plan, if you will, as to.
And here we left off the last meeting. Here they are, the true nature of Trimet, which is a property development agency. It's not a transit agency anymore. Supplying transit's kind of like their front. I would call it a front. Because the real money is in property development and capital projects. I mean, they don't even have enough drivers. They refuse to hire enough drivers even. But there's plenty of money for all the other stuff. It's just like everything else in government. The Fed bails out the rich people and leaves all the poor people. It's the same thing at every level.
What success is going to look like in regard to this development. Because I get concerned sometimes, we have a development initially and it looks great on paper. It looks great as a blueprint. But 10 or 15 years down the road, 20 years down the road, it kind of falls off. And
yeah, he's right.
Yep. I don't want to look back and say, yes, we developed this or we provided this facility and made it happen, and it's tied to Trimet, but it's not what we intended.
And stop that for a minute, because that's
to make sure that there isn't some.
Okay, that's brilliant. Okay, because that's exactly what happens. That's exactly what goes on. Is they have all these great ideas. It's like the $1 billion that the taxpayers gave to solve homelessness in Portland. Well, you might have noticed, I don't live there anymore, but I certainly keep up with events via technology. You might have noticed that the $1 billion has done no good for the homeless. None. It's gotten much worse. Yeah, these projects that they put out here say one thing, and then by the time they're actually done, they do another. This is a grift. It's just like that CRC. It's a grift. There's a culture of government grifters that grift from one project to another, siphoning the taxpayers' money, and they make a lot of money doing that. And that's what all of these projects are. Government has not helped actual people. It ended around Reagan, and it's just gotten worse until Trump. And Trump has totally ripped off people, which is why I'm surprised that he's gotten so much support. I mean, I don't know. The masses are pretty dumb. We know that. It's easily to manipulate people's minds. Okay.
Exclusive table that Trimet has handpicked who they want to be there, and I'm not seeing that from y'all, and I really want to see that, or like I just will lose faith in our transit agency altogether.
We had 1,165 complaints from 5 million boardings. Compared to the second quarter of 2019, we had 1,799 complaints from 14.7 million boardings. Next slide.
Just our role, I guess, and maybe something we need to look at as a board, look at looking forward in regards to our responsibilities, not just to provide the blueprint, but at the same time provide a floor plan, if you will, as to what success is going to look like in regard to this development. Because I get concerned sometimes, we have a development initially, and it looks great on paper. It looks great as a blueprint, but 10 or 15 years down the road, 20 years down the road, it kind of falls off. And I don't want to look back and say, yes, we developed this or we provided this facility and made it happen, and it's tied to Trimet, but it's not what we intended. And so I think that perhaps there's some more work that we need to do in regards to the commitment that we received from those that are going to be using this property after it's turned over.
One thing I would comment to that is that separate to this project and part of our TOD guidelines is that we are going through a system-wide TOD planning effort. And so we actually have money from ODOT through a Transport Growth Management grant. And Fuller Road Station is one potential area where we can do a wider station area planning. And it may well be appropriate given that Clackamas, whose objective is to provide a community appropriate, residential-led development on the Miller Fiberglass site, is going to be looking at creating a new community. And if when we looked at Geller Silvers as a potential developer for this site, or they came to us with their ideas for the site, we looked at their track record and we like what they've done in the past and their performance. And yes, nothing is certain for the future, but I think we have a strong degree of confidence that this is going to be a very good project.
Director Edwards, let us come back to you on that once we factor this into some of the other work we're doing, if you're okay with that.
Yes, I'm okay with that. I'm concerned in today's environment, the environment we've had of late. Yeah.
Well, you're actually, this director is my favorite director. He's the only one asking decent questions. As far as I'm concerned, he's become my favorite. But I know how it doesn't matter what he asks. I mean, he's just a puppet. He's just sitting there pretending. They don't control policy. It's the unelected technocracy that's controlling everything.
We were more concerned about money aspect of it and providing a venue rather than making sure that we provide some actionable efforts with that venue to make it successful.
Yeah, and I also think we have to tie these conversations into our municipal partners, so we can't just do these in isolation. So I think we, in some regards, can be a catalyst for some of these conversations, and they may vary by municipality and partnership, but I think it's worth us putting under the microscope a little bit further. So thanks for that suggestion.
Yes, thank you very much.
Director Way, I think you had your hand up first.
I do. I really appreciate this discussion and presentation, and also thank you so much, Director Edwards, for asking, I think some of those questions that I think, we still have to discuss and navigate as an agency. I think overall, as someone who is from a resident of Clackamas County, I actually go over to that Fuller Road area and then around 82nd and Audie quite frequently, and I just very happy to see this partnership really coming into fruition. There is definitely an affordable, housing crisis everywhere, but particularly in Clackamas County, and I've seen entire families living in cars and just trying to get their basic needs met. So I think that while this isn't going to solve all of the problems, I think this is definitely one solution that I feel very proud of our agency, Trimet, for being really, I think, intentional about the TOD work and just creating more stable housing for some of the most vulnerable folks in our communities. A question that I have is just around, again, this goes back to, I guess, the frequency of reporting and letting the board know just some of the key development updates between now and the completion of this project.
Work on my other stuff.
I guess, when can we reasonably expect another update around this particular project?
Yeah, absolutely. So within the guidelines that we discussed in April, May, we committed to quarterly updates to the board. So I think, this update, we focused very much on this Fuller Road Station project. We will be very happy to report back again, in the next quarter, so that'll be January, with an update as to what.
Here's a successful, people in Austin, which is surprising, voted a $7.1 billion property tax increase. Of course, I'm sure the property owners voted against it, but the property owners are the minority. So maybe Trimet should have gone that route. But, I guess it's the property owners in Portland have a little bit too much influence with the government there in Portland. Yeah. Well, a whole bunch of jobs are going to be available there if you're a technocrat.
Where we stand, hopefully we will have executed the transaction and construction will be in process. And then we can, obviously update the board quarterly thereafter on this and other projects as needed.
All right, thank you. This is my last comment. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to suggest, as part of our updates, I think I want to make sure as we not only talk about, I'll call it the opportunities per site, but also making sure that we keep focused also on the strategy of the network in TOD and the work that's needed. So there's the tactics and the strategy, making sure that we bring back to the board updates on how we're looking at our inventory, our network, et cetera, because each of these are very different. And sometimes the deals are on, they're off, depends on your partnerships, right? And they never go to according to a hard timeline. But I want to make sure we focus on strategy as well as
I'm a little bit off when it came to this Seattle tax, because I thought this is not actually a new tax. This is replacing existing taxes. But Seattle now has some of the highest taxes in the country for sales, which, as Peter Bray on Twitter points out, and I know, is one of the most regressive form of taxes that you can have is a sales tax, because it hurts poor people much harder than it hurts richer people. I mean, $100 of taxable items, that's a $10 hit for a poor person. A $10 hit for a rich person is not that much. So, I mean, it's really a horrible. They're just going to create more homeless people. Now, Seattle didn't try to renew. It's expiring 60 days. Okay, they knew better. At least they knew that really pissed off people. Yeah. Well, at least they were smart enough to not try to
deal of the day, if you will.
Thank you. I think my last comment would be, I think I would also echo you know, the comment that Director Edwards had around the social services piece and the education to the renters, because
boring.
We just went through the process of looking.
I don't care about
these sorts of cost numbers to us.
It's garbage. It's pork barrels.
Trimet staff when the offer was first made. So we then went through a process of basically accounting for that and identifying a solution. And so Trimet's commitment to
see this $47 million ends up in people's pockets. Okay, and you know I hate to sound so like, oh, Al, it's just Al, but you know I know the truth about this stuff. Okay, and the truth is that the so-called leaders could care less about us. It's a big con. Okay, it's a big con game. They just have this money. They want this $47 million goes to the insiders, you know, of Portland. That's what it's about. It's not about the people. None of it's about the people.
To sort of
move it forward.
Northwest. And in order to secure the metro funding,
developer fee,
and the various other forms of subsidy that this project needs to get built, it looks to supply
developer fee 13% here and 7%. So the developer fee is 20% of this 42. You know, I don't understand what the difference is here. They got two charts here. Hard costs and then permanent debt. Yeah, this is a scam, okay? It's just a scam. This is another scam that the ruling class plays on us.
You know, if this was
to be routine and may be approved by a single motion by the board, and the board can remove any item from the consent agenda if they want to talk about it. I would point out we only have one agenda item, which is the approval of the board meeting minutes for the meeting of September 23rd, 2020. Has the board had a chance to look at those minutes? If so, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
All the money.
So moved. This is Travis.
So moved.
Okay.
Did Travis win that vote?
All right, good. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, that all those in favor of the motion to approve the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
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 Is there any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously. All right, well, let's move on then to the resolutions, and we have 4 of them today. The first resolution is Resolution 20-10-39, which is authorizing submission of 10 grant applications to the Federal Transit Administration for fiscal year 2021 federal formula and discretionary funds. Mr. General Manager.
Thank you much, Mr. Board President, members of the board. Sir, your approval is requested on this today, really as part of Trimet's annual process to seek two-part.
Yeah, so Sarah lost to the. She could have won that. What a shame. This guy Mingus Maps unseated Udaley. That's a goddamn shame. You know, at least the voters allowed the psilocybin. This is huge. Drug decriminalization. Huge. President Oregon. Oh. Yeah. More taxes on this. Yeah, she won. Yeah, whoever that is. Blumenauer, of course, has a lifetime appointment there. I don't know who these people are. I don't give a fuck. Shima Fagan, whoever the hell that is. Library bonds, yes. Parks levy, yes. Tuition-free preschool, yes. Schools bond, yes. Mayor, okay, here we go. I don't know who he is. I don't care. Police oversight reform, 82%, but they're going to go to the goddamn court and try to overrule it. Metro tax, pretty big defeat. Sorry, Trimet. Luckily, you have the CRC that you can waste money on. Metro Council, couldn't care less. Chris Smith, didn't go. That's unfortunate. State Treasurer, yes, all the same people. Okay, wait. So is it over? Did he win? He's got 100 more votes. I wonder if it's over. So Travis Stovall is the mayor of Gresham.
It's one for federal formula, and secondly for discretionary funds. These are very foundational, integral part of our whole budget.
What now?
The request is for just under $114 million in FY21 federal funds alone. They fall into really three categories. One is debt service. The second category is for the maintenance and grant specific.
Debt service. That's the scam. All of government is a scam. Debt service is a scam. It shouldn't be allowed. They shouldn't be paying interest on anything. They should have a public bank financing this for zero interest. But since it's a scam, Goldman Sachs takes a piece of everything that we the public have to pay for.
For specific purpose, such as mobility programs for seniors, people with disabilities, and then development of our transit-oriented development program. You saw an example of that just a few minutes ago, as well as investments in our integrated mobility. The whole list of the grants that we apply for, as well as the amounts and the match requirements, they're in your packet already today, or they should be. And there are three comments I wanted to point out that that were received as part of the public period. So hopefully those are available to you as well.
We don't get to see
in the case, these grants, they're essential for us for our debt service, our number of maintenance, operational mobility improvement projects, and your approval's recommended here. And I'm not sure if Nancy or Dee has any comments to add.
Oh my God.
Nancy is up on this one.
Hi, thanks everyone. As Doug has outlined, there are 10 grant applications that we're making. On your list, I just want to point out that the grant receipts pledged to debt service, well, there's two items listed. That's actually one grant that has sources of funding. These grants are already included in the fiscal year 2021 budget document. And this presentation to you today is part of our documentation. It's an element that we are audited on, and our triennial review is coming up here after the first of the year. So this demonstrates our compliance with requirements to be transparent and accountable. And I'm happy to answer any questions if there's a specific question about any of the grants.
Have any questions from the board members? I had one question, Nancy. I see the testimony, the position by the Cascade Policy Institute opposing this federal grant request, which appears to be the entire grant request, but they're making reference to a program where we propose spending $4.2 million on zero emission battery electric buses. Which line item or grant is that included in?
Okay, so if you look at the listing on the second page, grants designated for specific purposes. Let's see, we've got included in there. Hold on, let me just look through this really quick here.
Come on, is that what you're doing, ladies?
I assume it must be part of one of those.
Yeah, it's larger. So if you look at our federal formula grants, the third one down, we've got $3.43 million for bus and bus affiliate.
Hold that for a minute. What's this? Come on. Come on.
A Tulsa Transit driver is the winner of the City Bus Award after competing in the 2020 Oklahoma State Driving Championship.
Alicia Moore was the only woman who participated in that competition, which was held down in Shawnee. She's the second winner to come out of the Tulsa area.
Yeah, we had to drive through like several, more than actually 10, 11 obstacles to achieve the championship trophy, and I did it.
There you go. She says she plans on competing in the national competition next year. Congratulations.
That's kind of a nice story. Good for her.
Facilities. We've got buses in there. We've also have...
Come on, Nancy Young Oliver. Are you prepared or not?
Additional funds in the STBG for purchase of the fixed route buses. That's item 4 on that for $1.6 million. So I believe that those are the two that they're referring to.
Okay. We can't see those under this format.
Oh. Yeah. See, there's Mr. Edwards again.
Do you have the resolution in front of you?
Yeah,
the only thing I have is the resolution, and I have all 4 resolutions in front of me, but I don't have the documentation that goes along with
Good
those.
for you.
We can't see it. We can't see it under this format.
You can't see it on this page. It's showing. I'm looking at my lap.
Yeah, they show you the resolutions. They don't show you the details of them. Actually, I posted this on my blog. It's all where it's all actually laid out. They do have. It is on the part of the Trimet accountability when they talk about the meeting agenda. They do have the paperwork there.
Laptop that has the iPad that shows it on. So I do see that.
Joe, are you able to scroll down to the resolution?
He's got 4 million.
Yeah, is this page 31?
Come
on. It should be the first resolution after the minutes. Keep going.
Okay.
Yeah, Keith, what I'm doing is toggling back and forth
there
to
you go. That's
what
right.
is.
So just go to the
That's where I put it. It's there.
That's it, though. You've got it right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bunch of pork barrel shit.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's in the second section
barrel.
under the formula grants, items 3
So I guess
and 4.
Stovall won by 130 votes.
And that helps. And the reason I ask, I just want to know where it was for everybody to understand that. I do not agree with the Cascade Policy Institute's recommendation that this should be opposed or pulled out of this. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew where it was.
Cascade.
And
Cascade's like pissing in the wind. Okay, they don't. Some of their stuff is pretty good when it comes to the public transportation. I mean, most of everything they put out is pretty bad, but their public transportation material is pretty good.
It wasn't clear to me what they were actually saying. So thank you for that, Nancy.
You're welcome. Is there any other questions?
I do not see any other questions. Then is the board ready to offer a motion to approve resolution 20-10-39?
I'll move.
Oh, he's worker.
Oh, I'm sorry. Director Gonzalez, you have a question?
Yes, sorry about that.
Hold on for the motion.
We do have the motion.
Okay, listen to this. The defendant actually stole more than $100,000 in taxpayer money by claiming he was disabled while simultaneously and outrageously holding down a series of law enforcement jobs in other states. What the fuck? How stupid can you be? I mean, Jesus. How fucking idiotic can you be?
Who made the motion?
Linda did.
Okay. Was there a second also?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and second so that we can get to the discussion.
Okay.
So second from Travis.
Hurry up.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Now let's get back to the question. Any further questions? Director Gonzalez.
Thank you. I was curious. Most of these grants here look like they are part of broader programs, sustaining programs. Are any of these grants new grants or something that is being launched for the first time through this grant?
So Director Gonzalez, if you look at the listing that we have on there, the ones that I would say are newer are the under the grants designated for specific purposes, where you have the enhanced mobility 5310 and the 5312 innovations in transit public safety.
Jeff, scroll down a bit.
Whatever the hell that is.
Okay.
Remember this story? I do.
Within that section showing grants designated to specific programs, item number 5, the innovations in public transit safety.
What is that crap?
Okay. And then the one directly above that, the pilot program for transit-oriented development. So those would be the ones that are newer.
Thank you.
Well, this he asked. This is better than nothing. Right?
So I went quickly. Are there other questions or comments on this item before we vote? Okay, hearing none then, I will assume we're ready to vote. All those in favor of then the motion to approve resolution 20-10-39, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you for answering the questions. Move on to the next resolution, which is resolution 20-10-40, which is to approve Trimet's agency safety plan, ASP it's called, as required by the Federal Transit Administration. Mr. General Manager, you want to tee this one up for us?
You bet. And we also got Marla Blagg and Frank Castellone here to answer any technical questions on this. But this is an important program that's taken a lot of work to put in place. This is really a cornerstone that could potentially jeopardize other future FDA funding should this not be approved. The agency safety plan, I'm going to refer to as ASP here, it includes a safety management policy, a risk management process, a safety assurance process, and really a framework for safety training and how we communicate. So the underpinning of this, and I've worked with these for a lot of years, is it's a cultural document around safety. And as this agency continues to build its muscle on the safety side, I think it's a really, really important document, and I'm hoping the board's had a chance to review it all. This does meet all of the FTA requirements. And it's been reviewed by every member of the leadership team, and you can see even the leadership team, myself included, have signed that document. It's very important that we all sign it. The activities described here within the plan, they're integrated in, they unbundle out of the policy piece and integrate into our day-to-day activities and our subsidiary budget conversations and also our operating policy. So it really is expansive in its nature. And in adherence to this is really, really important, not only at the federal level, but with our regional partners, the oversight at ODOT, particularly on the rail side. So your approval is recommended. We want to thank Marla and Frank and many others for a lot of complex work going into putting this in place.
I forgot about this fucking answer.
Happy to answer questions.
Fuck you, Oregonian.
I'll do a pop quiz with the board on how many have read the whatever it was 60 pages of this document. It's a very complete safety plan. Does the board have any questions or comments for the staff on this one?
I have some questions.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, this is a very dense report that, thank you team for just putting it together and providing some of your analysis. Just one of my first questions is, has there been any changes that is significant from the FTA? Any specific changes that we should be aware of as a board?
We covered this in our little club here.
Do you want to take that, Marla, or Frank?
Hey, good morning, board members. Frank Castellone, Director of Trimet System Safety. And to very broadly answer your question, which is an excellent question, there are a lot of changes that are noted by FTA regulation that are represented in the body of this document. So yes, it does equal out to mean many changes for us, but they're not so much changes in how we function. It just goes, the past, the way our system safety program plan went was very prescriptive, and this is more of a hazard-based plan. So the expectation of FTA and state safety oversight is a lot of our system safety-related hazards are identified through this process noted in this plan. So it's kind of a more generalized way to deal with system safety, but the intent is to address the culture related to safety of the agency as well.
Okay. Here's the...
Thank you. And just one other question.
This is the report they're talking about right here.
The community feedback or the community engagement process. I know that there was, I think in the last long legislative session, there was a bill that passed around
I always have a nice little
Trimet forming
Was that,
a
you got the lights
security
on? I'll get the lights.
committee to look at
Right.
you know, different incidents, accidents in particular. There was a woman that came forward with a personal story of losing her son. I don't know if folks remember that. I am really bad with remembering what that bill number was, but
it's the Crash Advisory Committee, I think you're referring to.
Yes, thank you so
I think
much.
she's talking about Darla
I'm
security.
just wondering if how that committee and that legislation, does that impact this work? If you can sort of comment on that.
One of the things I can add, this is Linda, I'm the board representative on the Crash Advisory Committee, and I was actually at the conclusion of this meeting going to ask that I be given the opportunity to give a committee report at our December meeting because we have started meeting. It doesn't bode requiring regular monthly reports because we really only meet a couple times a year, although recently we've been meeting a lot. But it's a Crash Advisory Committee, and yes, I mean, I could go into great detail right now, but I won't. But yes, we look at this, we analyze, you know, the agency's response, all of the agencies that are involved in that Trimet has to report to whenever there is and they call it a crash. We may refer to it as a collision. And so it's, I'm just one of several community members that are involved representing Trimet and quite frankly, Kathy, I am absolutely in awe of all of the regulatory bodies that have their hand in Trimet.
Yeah, I bet you are.
In relationship to making sure our I's are dotted and T's crossed and every possible aspect is considered when there is a crash, regardless of whether a life has been impacted by it.
Great. Thank you so much, Director Simmons. And yes, that was the committee that I was referring to. I just wanted to bring it up because I remember that being a lot of testimony was being provided to the board, and you know, there was some interest in the oversight and the implementation of that work. So thank you so much for those are all the questions I have.
Other questions or comments for Doug and the staff?
Yes, I had a question for the staff, and this is in regards to the latest of 2020 with both a pandemic as well as safety and security, personal safety, being so intricately linked to the experiences that we're having around George Floyd and Black Lives Matter. In what ways have all of those two things this year changed the scope of the work of this plan, or any of the existing practices? Has that materially done anything significant in your opinion, based on the way the plan was structured before? Sounds like it was a very different process to go more threat or focused than prescriptive. So I wonder if these specific threats have done anything to be addressed.
So excellent question. Let me see if I can answer it and kind of put it into framework. So this document embodies the system safety, the safety of the system. So whether it's the light rail vehicles, the alignment, our employees, this program is more centered toward how the system functions, identifying hazards, putting in appropriate mitigations.
Is that for me?
And the same thing is true for the employee involvement.
Oh yeah, thanks.
When it comes to the security side, the only element that this program really touches is, and you made mention of it, is something along the lines of threat and vulnerability assessment. Whenever we go to build a new project or whenever we go to upgrade a project, this plan would come into place and put forth the requirement, which is driven by FTA, for threat and vulnerability assessment. So even though current events within our society may impact something like station safety, safety of light rail vehicles, unless we were going to make design a new thing, build a new thing, integrate a new system into place, then this plan wouldn't necessarily address that. But if there was some hazard, continual hazard, let's say we needed to install, platform screen doors, even though we have an open system, giving an example, then this plan would come into place and require us to do a threat and vulnerability assessment along with a hazard assessment. So that's how this ties into that specifically.
What's this?
Thank you. So like the threat of, as we've seen in the past, the system being a place where one's personal safety is threatened by another person on the system. Those are not within the purview of this particular plan. Is that, am I?
Yes, sir, that's correct. It's more along the lines of systemic hazards or something, trespassing, people trying to put, again, examples, explosive device in the system. This plan and the process in it address it. But the day-to-day crime and things like that, that's represented in another subsection of this.
Thank you.
More physical property, not personnel.
Let's take time out for the Sandy trailer.
Crazy 6-lane intersection even happened in the first place.
Henderson, get the fuck in here. You seen this? Big bold traffic. Is that the map?
That's Ted Wheeler there.
The reason it is so messed up, a famous East Side intersection became so notorious.
Oh God, yeah, Sandy's all fucked. I got cars turning left and right and they don't even know where the fuck to go. We might get hit by a goddamn car out here.
Sandy Boulevard, you looking at that? Yes, sir. You should be looking at it. Get a little closer. Let me circle it for you. What the fuck is that?
By the way, Massachusetts morons voted no on ranked choice voting. And, the thing with Wheeler and Ione, let's see, where's the, let's see, where she lost, what's his name didn't get a majority again. Where's the fucking elections? Fuck this shit. Where's the local? Anyway, okay, I can't find it. But anyway, Wheeler didn't get the majority. He was under 50%. So ranked choice voting is why we need that. Because if somebody doesn't have 50% or more, they should be using ranked choice. I can understand why it's confusing people. Because their little pea brains can't understand the concept. Your first choice and then your second choice. And so if nobody has the wins on the first, you go to the second and then you see who wins the second. It requires a little more intelligence than just voting for one person. That's one thing Americans don't have.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Other questions for Staffer Doug? So Doug, I'm getting a question I have. This is obviously something we need to approve and get to them so we can continue to receive federal funds, correct?
Correct. So this is a requirement. It's in definitely our interest to do so. I think to the other director's question,
obviously
there are a lot of technical changes embedded in here. The average person, myself included, wouldn't see unless you spent time working on this stuff. So it is a requirement, and it's also good practice that the board be signing off to what management's actually undertaking. So we need to connect ourselves from the board all the way down through how we execute at ground level. So that is the best practice. So that's part of the recommendation for you today.
Good, thank you. Oh, yeah. So I believe we had a motion and a second on the table, correct?
Correct.
All right. Is there further discussion on this item? Seeing none and hearing none, I'm going to call the question. All those then in favor of the motion to approve resolution number 20-10-40, please signify by saying aye.
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 Mr. Borsberg?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I do not have a motion.
for this.
Well, I thought we had a motion on this one.
No, that was the previous resolution.
Okay, see, well, that's why I asked. Thank you very much. So then could I have a motion to approve resolution number 20?
Yeah, follow your goddamn.
So moved.
I have a motion by Keith.
Robert's
Is there a
Rules
second?
of Order or whatever the hell it's called.
Second, Linda.
So no, I do believe we do have the motion on this one.
That's why I thought, Travis, you made the motion. I thought.
So no.
No, Linda made the motion.
Linda made the motion, and
That's right.
I made the second because we stopped because we were right in the middle of asking the question. Ozzy was right in the middle of asking the question, but we had already gotten the motion. So no, there is a motion on this.
There is a motion.
All right, so I was correct first.
Technically, the motion just passed because we just voted on it. But yes, no. Director Simmons made the motion, and Stovall made the second. I actually made the motion on the first resolution, and someone else made the second. So I made the second on this resolution.
Right. All right. So I think we had a motion and a second, and I believe we just took a vote. I didn't ask if there was anybody who was opposed to the motion to approve this resolution. Is there any abstentions?
It's a bunch of hicks up there.
If not, then what I say is this motion has been approved unanimously. Are you all right with that, Kimberly?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, good. Thank you. Well, let's move on then. We'll declare victory here and move on to the next resolution, which is Resolution 20-10-41, which is authorizing a contract with Stacy and Whitbeck Inc. For the Ruby Junction Expansion Civil and Systems Project.
Yeah, more pork.
Mr. General Manager.
Pork the barrel.
Very much, Mr. Board President. So this project will provide additional storage tracks where our first generation or our type 1 vehicles, the new ones, the old ones leaving are the type 1s, the type 6s are arriving. So we have 26 of these type 1 vehicles out there now. They're the ones that are not ADA compliant that you have to step onto if you can visualize when you've ridden the MAC system. They were going to be in a process of decommissioning. This will allow us space for the new type 6 vehicles that are already been authorized by this board. They're in production right now and allow for future expansion of the LRV fleet. It will also mitigate some of our operational pullout issues in our morning when we launch service. Pullout sort of a railway term or bus term. It'll also help us with our on-time performance and the fundamental reliability getting out of Ruby Junction. Also a lot of complex and specialized work here. So we used a two-step process to identify the contractor. The first part of our step, we received 2 bidders. However, both exceeded the construction budget and the cost estimate. So the team, I think, and rightfully so, they went back and adjusted the scope and the project and then reissued the bid. Stacy and Whitbeck was the only firm to respond. And following a full analysis, the bid price was determined to be, our team felt was fair and reasonable. The maximum amount of the contract here is $6.1 million, and it is included in the fiscal year, this current fiscal year 21 and 22's proposed capital plan. Stacy Whitbeck, they do intend to use DBE subcontractor for about 12% of the work, and we'll work with them to see if we can actually push that even further.
Power again?
If there's additional opportunities out there.
So that's just happening now.
So based on the above and the circumstances we've got, in a pretty limited marketplace, your recommendation, I hope you'll take my recommendation for approval of the resolution. So thank you. Steve Witter, did I miss anything that you wanted to comment on, by the way?
I think he must have covered it. So any questions or comments for Doug or staff on this item? I'm not hearing or seeing anything. Then is there a motion to approve resolution number 20-10-41?
Yeah, so moved. We have that. Yeah, we don't care. Give them the money. Second? Give them the money. We don't give a shit. Travis. Take the money. We don't care.
All right. Is there any further discussion on this item?
We don't care. We don't care.
Hearing none, then I'll call. I'm sorry.
Oh, just wanted to thank Manager Kelsey for the rundown. I was curious about how we landed with one bidder in the end. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, how did you end up? Oh, I don't know. I wonder how that could be.
All right, then. I'll call the question. All those then in favor of the motion to approve resolution number 20-10-41, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion is approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Move on to the last resolution then, which is resolution number 20-10-42, which is authorizing a modification to the contract with Stellar J Corporation for the Ruby Junction Shop Modifications Project.
Yeah, a little extra money for them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Board President. So this resolution is also related to Ruby Junction. It is a modification, as you've indicated, with Stellar J's contract. They're the contractor for the shop modification, which will prepare Ruby to maintain the 5 newest LRV models, including our Type 6s. The project also includes replacing, as part of it, an obsolete lift, making the structural improvements to accommodate the new lift and replacing 3 heavy-duty bridge cranes. So there's a lot of work, as you could probably tell by the different resolutions coming at you out at Ruby Junction. In late 2018, Stellar J's, the lift manufacturer who was going to supply it, they went bankrupt. It forced the contractor to identify a new lift manufacturer that could meet Trimet's needs unique for that building, of which there are very few domestic opportunities out there for suppliers. The additional contract authority here requested accounts for the increase in construction costs at Ruby, and they're necessary to improve the structure that can accommodate the increased weight and particularly the dimensions of the new lift from the supplier. This resolution before you, it seeks to increase the change order allowance by $550,000. You would then make...
This is a standard operating procedure, whereas companies place bids with Trimet to do work, and they contract out for a certain amount of money, and they come back for more later. It's standard. Every contractor gets more later. It's like, when you hire a contractor to work on your house and they give you a bid, they're expected to keep the bid. Not when you work for the government. When you work for the government, you come back for more, and you can come back for more, and they give it to you because it's government. It's nobody's money except the taxpayers, and the taxpayers have no say in how it gets used, which is why I don't understand how anybody in their right mind votes for a tax increase. But I don't understand why anybody, well, let's not get into that.
Make the new total of the contract amount for $4.737 million in total.
Yeah.
This fund, the dollar amount is being funded by an FDA grant from the Portland-Milwaukee Light Rail as part of a remnant of that remaining amount. Knowing it had an impact on, for the new board members, had an impact on Ruby Junction's ability to deliver service with those new cars. This is included in your FY21 capital program budget. And I will comment that Stellar J does use DBE contracts for about 6% of the work. And as with the prior contract discussed, we're going to work with Stellar J to see if there's ways to stretch that and get more out of the DBA relationships for
they
other
won't
work.
call it, but it's
there are limited choices on this. We're kind of trapped through the bankruptcy, and so this is an adjustment that's sitting before you to make.
They just fuck with your head here.
Your recommendation is requested.
Great questions, comments by the board?
Arizona's up.
Yeah, I had a question. Following up on the idea of stretching that inclusion goal, is it within the scope of this contract? Is it looking at other subcontracting opportunities within this, or more?
Just give them your money.
This contract now.
Give them your money.
Or inclusion practices down the road. I'm just curious in which way, if you know or aware, that we engage with subs in this manner, or primes.
I think Steve is speaking, but he's not being heard.
Oh, I don't.
What's going on here?
till Steve jumps in and corrects me, I think we're going to have limited alternatives for the actual manufacturer themselves. These are very skinny marketplace.
All right, we've had enough of that. Okay, I think we're done. I mean, yeah, they're going to approve it. So that's the whole board meeting. A bunch of capital projects, pork barrels, and a fake, they're fake police. Reimagining the police, which doesn't include all. Well, enough of this shit. Bye.